The room was quiet when the paramedics arrived. There were no signs of a struggle, no shattered glass, no panic in the air. Just a woman on the floor who could no longer respond, and a man standing over her, repeating the same phrase over and over, "I was only trying to help." The medical professionals would later review the timeline, the choices, and the consequences, and they would all agree on one chilling fact: what happened in that room could not be undone. But the real tragedy wasn't just what happened, it was how it happened. Lena Whitmore was 32 years old. She was the kind of person who seemed to have her life perfectly organized, independent, capable, and self-sufficient. She lived alone in a quiet townhouse complex where the days blended together in peaceful monotony. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened, and that, ironically, was the problem. Because when something finally did happen, nobody, not even her well-meaning neighbor, knew what to do. The neighbor was Michael Harris. He lived in the unit right next to Lena. He wasn't a stranger. He was a familiar, friendly face in the community. People waved to him, exchanged pleasantries, and generally saw him as a reliable guy. More importantly, Michael had a background that gave him confidence. He had some first aid training from a job years ago and had always been told he was good in a crisis. His core belief was simple: in any emergency, staying calm and taking control was always the right move. That belief, that sense of calm authority, followed him right through Lena's front door. It started late one evening. Michael was in his living room when he heard a sudden, heavy thud from Lena's apartment. It wasn't a scream or a cry for help. It was the sound of dead weight hitting the floor, followed by an unnerving, absolute silence. It was the kind of silence that makes you hesitate, that makes you question whether you heard anything at all. He waited, listening for another sound, anything to break the tension. Nothing. The silence grew heavier, more unsettling, with each passing second. This was the moment of choice, the critical juncture where one small decision could change everything. Michael stood outside Lena's door, his phone in his hand. Calling emergency services would have been the simplest, most direct course of action. It would have taken 30 seconds. But instead, he decided to check on her himself. He knocked the door open slowly, and Lena was standing there, leaning against the frame for support. Her eyes were glassy, struggling to focus. Her balance was clearly off. She mumbled that she felt strange, dizzy, but then she did something tragically common. She downplayed it. She asked him not to make a big deal out of it, embarrassed by her own vulnerability. To Michael, her request felt reasonable. He saw her condition, but his mind filtered it through his own lens of calm confidence. He was there to help. He guided her back inside, away from the doorway. He went through a mental checklist from his old training. He checked her breathing, felt for her pulse. Both seemed present, if a little irregular. In his mind, nothing screamed immediate, life-threatening emergency. Nothing felt urgent enough to escalate to a full-blown 911 call. He told her to sit on the couch, to take deep breaths, to just stay calm while he figured things out. He was in control. He was helping, but Lena was disoriented. She tried to shift her position on the couch, to get more comfortable, but her body wouldn't cooperate. She started to slide, her limbs uncoordinated. It was the second time she lost her balance, but this time it was more severe. Michael reacted instinctively. Without a second thought, he rushed forward, grabbing her arms to steady her, trying to reposition her back into a sitting posture. He moved her. It was a natural, human impulse, an act of assistance. But in that exact moment, as he adjusted her body, something inside her shifted. It was a microscopic, internal event, completely invisible to the naked eye, but it was catastrophic. Neither of them knew it yet. A few moments after he helped her back up, Lena's eyes rolled back. She slumped over, unresponsive. The quiet in the room suddenly felt different. It was no longer just the absence of sound. It was the absence of life. The calm confidence Michael had felt just moments before evaporated, replaced by a surge of pure panic. He fumbled for his phone and called for help immediately. He relayed the information frantically, but the damage was already done. A critical window had closed. Something had changed in the time between him knocking on the door and making that call. Something that could not be reversed. Later, at the hospital, doctors and specialists would meticulously review the case. They determined that Lena had suffered a specific type of brain bleed. The initial event, the thud Michael had heard, was serious, but it wasn't necessarily final. She had been on her feet, conscious, and talking. There was a chance, a good one, for intervention and recovery. But then came the second event. The medical reality was brutal and unforgiving. The movement, the well-intentioned act of helping her sit up, of repositioning her hat, exacerbated the bleeding at the worst possible moment. His help had been the catalyst for the final, irreversible damage. Good intentions, applied at precisely the wrong time, had sealed her fate. In the end, there were no criminal charges. There was no crime to prosecute. Michael hadn't acted with malice. He hadn't been negligent in the legal sense of the word. Everything he did was understandable, even relatable. He was just a neighbor trying to help. And in a way, that was the most horrifying part of it all. There was no villain to blame, no system to correct. Just a quiet, devastating tragedy born from a simple, human impulse. Michael replayed that night endlessly in his mind. A torturous loop of what-ifs. What if he had called 911 from his own apartment? What if he had waited outside her door for the paramedics to arrive? What if he had done nothing at all? What if he had understood that sometimes the most helpful thing you can do is step back and let the professionals take over? But there were no answers that could bring Lena back, and no answers that could grant him peace. Michael Harris didn't cause harm because he was cruel or careless. He caused it because he, like so many of us, believed that immediate action is always better than hesitation. He saw a problem and felt an overwhelming need to fix it himself. But this story serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most dangerous instinct isn't malice or indifference. It's the urgent need to intervene before you understand what help is truly needed. Thanks for watching. If you found this story thought-provoking, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more content that makes you think.